on it. If you're 150 pounds and you stomp on it, that's a 3-pound hammer. Now, was I smashing that thing, or did I just... That inspection test is for our safety. As we walk up fire escapes, we start hammer testing. If treads start falling, we don't go up anymore. But you guys don't walk around with hammers when you walk up and down fire escapes, do you? They're 75 years old. And do you look underneath the treads as you're walking down? Do you have like a little mirror as you walk down to check every little tread? So we're going to show you how to inspect fire escapes from the ground. Okay? Guys, cantilevers. And then I'm going to show you some what's called downtown walkarounds. Chief, if you want to have the same issue, you can give me 3 people to go after this class. I can go down to downtown and or an area that has a cluster of fire escapes. We'll do a little walk around. And I can just do specific fire escapes. We can do about 10 or 15, 20 fire escapes. And all we do is just walk around, and we basically use today's class with 2 or 3 or 4 of you guys, and I test you guys to see what are you looking for, original hardware, you know, all the questions that we talk about. That video that I create, the same video that I did for East Orange, which is the little seminar class that you guys can go on YouTube anytime and watch. So I can show you other people's walkarounds, which I'm going to do today, but I can also do some, if any of these people are available, to go with me and do a downtown walkaround. It's a nice day, it's not raining. Okay? But I'll show you what it looks like in case you want to do something that is specific to Newark.
See what we have when we finish.
Sure. Okay. Cantilevers. Guys, ladders are supposed to be balanced. When I release a ladder, I'm not supposed to be assisting it and bringing it down, because when you bring it down and it's unbalanced, what's it do automatically? It goes right back up. Firemen, can you reach up 12 feet without a pike? Right? You have to go get your pole and bring things down. And even if you bring it down, what do you have to do? So that people... Yeah, you have to put your foot there. So you just lost a fireman. Cantilevers are the other culprit that steal one fireman from the job. 150-pound woman dragging a 50-pound child behind her, right? Typically, fire escapes have this issue. When they fill these boxes to perfectly balance them, because you're supposed to touch the first step. Touch it, and it starts all by itself. Drops 2 to 3 feet per second, hits the ground, and stays down. That is so perfectly balanced that you can't imagine how quickly they get out of balance. Because these boxes are full of crap. They're full of the junk from my shop. I'm not going to fill it with good steel. I just sweep up the shop, sweep up, and I put it in this box, and as soon as the thing is perfectly balanced, I close the box, and I don't seal it, but water gets in there, moisture gets in there, and rust grows. A 1/4 inch of rust grows to 1 inch of rust. And it grows in weight also. So these things start moving up. They start pointing to the sky, right? So now, if I came by, and I walked, and you're an inspector, you walk by, you see this may not catch you yet. But what happens if you walk by a building and you got this thing? Is there a violation coming? Are you going to write a violation when you see something pointing to the sky like that? It just doesn't look right, right? So you know what I do as an owner, so that you don't write me a violation? I go to Home Depot, and I get a $25 chain, and I tie it over here, and I drag it back up there, and I tie it to anything I can get, a piece of rail or anything. I'll tie it to my mother-in-law if I could tie it to her, but I just make it horizontal so that you don't write me a violation. So, is a chain a natural piece of the fire escape, an original piece of the fire escape? No. So every chain you see out there is doing what right now for you?
It's a violation.
It's a violation because it's out of balance. And I'll explain the balance right now on how it works, right? Because let's just use the example of the 150-pound woman dragging a 50-pound child, and the thing's out of balance. When she comes down the stairs, and she comes here, and she hits this, and it doesn't do it, she goes out about 1/3. Does it move?
Yeah, it moves till the chain and whatnot.
May move, may not.
Get taut.
She sometimes needs to come out to half. As soon as she comes out to half, will that drop 2 to 3 feet per second, or 5 to 10 feet per second?
Yeah,
It's going to drop fast. So she's got her child behind her, and the thing goes down and smacks the ground and does what to her? Possibly.
Bounce her off.
Bounce her off. So it could possibly, but she held on, right? So she held on, she screamed, the kid starts crying, and then she walks the rest of the way. Because she's counteracting. She's dragging a little child behind her, and she walks off the 150 pounds, takes off, gets off the fire escape. What happens? Back up. With who on it? The 50-pound child goes up how many feet on average? Every cantilever is minimally 12 to 14 feet off the ground. Now you got an 8-year-old child up there, 50 pounds, on the very edge. Will that come down with a 50-pound child? No. And the mother's telling the child to do what? Jump. How many kids jump 8 feet, much less 12 feet? So now the mother's screaming, the kid's crying, the mother's yelling, the fire, the flames. Fireman there yet? Not yet. Not yet. And the mother's screaming and yelling and say, hey, jump. And the baby says no. You don't think the mother would run back into a burning building to save her child, would she?
She would. Yes.
So all of a sudden she runs to the front, and she's in her pajamas. She's looking for what? Her keys, which is our where?
On the dresser.
Inside, and she's got this glass door. You don't think she'll throw something through that door? All of a sudden, before she's ready to throw this brick and this chair and this trash can through the front door, who shows up? The fireman shows up. Says, "What's the problem? What are you doing?" She goes, "Oh, my kid in the back alleyway," and they all run to the back. And the fireman goes there and says what to the kid? Jump! And the kid goes, "Dude, I ain't jumping for my mother. I ain't jumping for you." So the fireman runs back to his pole. Back to the truck and gets what? To the pole. He goes up there and he grabs it and he pulls it down, reunites the mother with the child, and then he puts his foot on it and does what? Starts yelling orders to who? Now there's flames and garbage flying all over the place, and this guy, you just lost one guy now, because now he's a doorman now for everybody to go up and everybody to go down. Does that sound like the way it's supposed to be? So, with that, let me, I happened to be in Springfield last week, and it was funny because I was supposed to do a fire escape inspection. And there's a great, there's a video here that you guys will like, because it was of the guy who I made do the cantilever walk. And and I says, "Dude, you're gonna be shown all over the country." No, not realizing that. Bear with me for a second as I. Slow it down. Come on, kid. She doesn't want to let me go in and show you the video in a second, but I was gonna. I'll show it afterwards when we start doing. Actually, there's a cantilever here that I'm gonna play as soon as this thing. I think it's just so much juice going on in this thing. I got a cantilever that I'm gonna drop, but I actually have a photograph when I start doing the downtown walkarounds. I'll show you a guy that I had to make, and he's going out slowly. You know, this like full-grown man. I said, "You're lucky there's not a fire going on while you're doing this, because you know you'd have people behind you pushing you." But it basically stresses the point that cantilevers are one of the reasons why in Bridgeport they had 50 people up there. Ladders weren't coming down, or cantilevers weren't coming down.
Now, if the chain is holding the cantilever, right? You need a bolt cover. You need
No. The chain. All the chain is doing, and we're just gonna have to wait to see why this thing is sort of jamming up a little bit. The chain is what you use on the tail end of the cantilever to make it horizontal. The chain just keeps the thing from flipping its nose straight up in the sky, because the cantilever actually drops this way. The chain just brings it horizontal.
The chain
has nothing to do with it. The chain is once you walk away from it and it goes back up by itself, it stops it from going beyond horizontal. It's a big tug on the thing, and that's why it's illegal. So I'm just going to wait to see if I have to restart it, because for some reason she doesn't want to. Yeah, I think she froze. See if it'll. So I'm going to open it up to some questions, because right now the next thing I'm going to play, including that little piece of the video, is some downtown walkarounds, some of the most recent ones I just did in Springfield. And I have the ones that we did at East Orange. But let's just open up to some questions right now, just to sort of recap, because I think we've covered a lot of information. I'll end it with some of the videos that we've done. It's called what's called downtown walkarounds. And again, you can use any downtown walkaround to learn what you're doing here, because the fire escapes on the East Coast are exactly the same fire escapes on the West Coast, the same fire escapes in Chicago, the same fire escapes in Texas. So there's plenty of videos already out there. We have about 500 videos on what's called Fire Escape Academy. So if you go to YouTube channel, they're all free videos. It's called Fire Escape Academy, and it's called, you know, inspection walkarounds, repair walkarounds. So as this thing loads, does anybody have any questions so far on everything that we've talked about?
Now, Cisco, you know, about 2 years ago, we did, was it 2 years ago? We did the walk around downtown. You know, we went to Symphony Hall, we went around.
Yes, Symphony Hall.
Matter of fact, a lot of those fire escapes that was in, what's that housing complex?
Baxter Terrace.
Baxter Terrace, and they tore them off because they closed up that whole unit there. But those fire escapes was fairly new. And actually, they salvaged that metal that was on all them complexes out there. A salvage company come and took all them fire escapes down. But we did the walkthrough before in our downtown area. We did Symphony Hall, and they still haven't repaired the fire. No, they have not repaired it at Symphony Hall. So we're doing it, and that belongs to the city, and that's another thing.
Well, here's what changed from our walk around then. A couple things. Let's talk about welding. Welding has got a new flavor now. Most people don't realize that a weld rots from the inside out, because after you weld, you don't normally seal it to stop water from getting in there. And there's instances out there where welds have snapped off of a fire escape and conked people on the head. Now, without an X-ray, and this is one of the only last pieces of the puzzle, I told you what I need to do on a bolt. A load test a bolt, or reinforce a bolt, or change a bolt to eliminate a load test, right? What do I have to do to eliminate a load test on a welded connection? If load test is what you don't want to do, what else can I do to a welded connection that visually looks good? But the only other option besides a load test is to bring an X-ray machine, which I don't have, which is very expensive, but I can have a company come in with an X-ray machine. What's the only other way on a welded connection, whether it visually looks good, but we've had some issues in the recent issues with it, what's the only other thing we can do right now to avoid a load test on a welded connection?
Re-weld it.
No, we can't weld because of the lead law now.
Right.
Can I reinforce it with a gusset or a plate? So if I have a welded connection, and there's two overlaps and a beautiful weld done by some guy, some structural guy, 15 years ago, I don't have to cut that, do I? But I can't get into it, and the only way you want me to guarantee that weld is to load test it, which is expensive, X-ray it, which is just as expensive, but can I just blow a bolt hole through that and pop in a 1/2-inch bolt or a 5/8 and be done with it? Will that satisfy you? So all welded connections, which that building there, the Symphony has it, or the theater. So that's how we're going to deal with welded connections. To avoid a load test of it, you just reinforce it with a backup bolt. Now, when we walk around the same place now, and I didn't do this 2 years ago, I wasn't stressing the, He's trying to find your Wi-Fi in here. I wasn't stressing the, what do you call it, the square head bolts and the rivets and the 50-year. So now the word load test is the key piece in here, because now if you go to that same theater that we walked by before, we were going to spot paint only what was wrong with it. Is that what we're going to do now? Or you're going to force a load test onto that building? Otherwise, if you refurbish that whole building, will you guys order a load test on that theater?
No.
No. And all the connections back into the building, which are visually, you can only verify visually from the outside, what are they going to have to do on this 50, 75, or 100-year-old structure so that you don't order a load test to verify the wall?
And actually, that fire escape is critical as a part of the means of egress for that theater.
So it's the imminent hazard.
Yeah,
With the thousands of people that you put in there, you put 2,000-3,000 people in there.
yeah.
When something was happening, it's an
And
imminent hazard.
sometimes it is that many. I mean, the main ballroom will hold almost that many, and
Right,
then
it's
sometimes they
imminent
have
hazard.
both of them going, Symphony Hall and the Terrace, going at the same time. But as far as Symphony Hall, those people that are up on those upper levels, that is their
The main means
of egress in
of
case
secondary
of an
egress to
Yeah.
get out of there. And whatnot. And they have gospel shows and stuff down there all the time. Nobody just declared that an imminent hazard. Who gonna declare it an imminent hazard? Who gonna say that's an imminent hazard? Wouldn't that? Who gonna say that? Should have been a long time ago. Should have been
Tell
done.
them, John. Tell them.
Well, John also knows that the city owns that building.
You would not
And you will close Symphony Hall.
I'm not. If I was the inspector, I'd declare it an imminent hazard.
You are an
You can do it.
No, what not? You know, what not? Cause you want that. What's the difference? I've declared some other stuff imminent hazards. You know.
And this is that tough line that we're not going to be crossing. That as long as we can identify it, it just needs a proper system. We just need to get the right people on it. As
Right.
soon as you write, as soon as you
Oh,
go down
yeah, I
there,
wrote him up, but I
and
don't
he
get
brought
no
this up, as soon as he writes the word
If you
repair,
wanna
paint,
know.
test on that structure, who really
Like
owns
living over here,
it?
my
Final
kids.
guy that's gonna
The
sign
owner
it,
of
you
the
guys,
building
or is
City
it?
and Newark.
Yeah.
Or is it
Then you have
the
those
building
over
department that
here,
now
right?
just got it, that just got the repair?
They're involved in it.
They're involved in it now,
Chief.
so if they don't wanna do anything about it,
Chief.
you just say, hey, the word repair is in there, we just wrote the violation and started the process.
Been like that for how many years? How many years that fire escape been like that, Chief?
At least 17.
Before I got down there, right? Oh.
Yeah, to us, yeah.
When it has
We can
been.
use 2 hours right now as an example.
Yeah, it's more.
So,
All right, let's,
This thing out, I emptied it and then threw it out.
so here's the class that we did,
right?
very similar to this class. As you can see, it's a class inside, you know, a small conference room. We did the same thing. This is in Springfield, Illinois. This is last week. And I'm gonna start moving it forward. Hopefully the wireless is picking it up accordingly.
Excuse me, Chief. We getting credits for this class?
No, but we should, but we didn't have it in, this is in-house training. But there is a way, see, he's certified to teach classes for the state, and if we had it set up through our, King College,
Yeah.
well, you could have got a,
We teach a
credit for
6-hour
that.
continuing ed course of this very same class. But again, if you do it through your associations, and if you set up continuing ed credits at one of your training centers here, and then you bring me in to speak, then that's how
Then you
he
get
gives you
credit
the
for it.
credits. I don't give you the credit. He
Right.
gives you the credits.
State, King College.
So let's do a downtown walk around here. Let me just move this thing forward here.
Chief, we gonna do downtown?
I'm gonna see how many people we got available to go down and walk through with him
Oh,
again.
okay.
It's the next 4 because we already in the picture.
That way it's 10.
There we go. All right, here's a good one right here.
Rotate.
Everybody gonna be
I'll let
busy.
this only play.
Know how that go, Chief.
No, we got some folks that really wanna learn what to do.
Does I need a stainless steel bolt to go back into a connection?
And they'll
The
make
ones who already
sacrifices
know.
to be there.
Tempered? Does it have to be from the ground? You can see evidence of certain things. Now,
Well, I'm going to.
do you think that tail has been hit by a truck and it's passed?
So this is the
So
fire
there's,
marshal that walked around
with the truck hitting and the steel being bent, the weight box is bent. There's also another thing that's a no-no. See that chain?
Yeah.
That chain, does it look like original or an add-on?
Like an add-on B.
All right. What that means is because this thing people are breaking in, they put some extra weight on that weight box. Do you see the evidence of additional weight being thrown on the weight box?
The outside.
Okay, so that means that you, a 150-pound woman with a 50-pound child, would have to go out 5 to 10 steps to activate this. Is that single action requiring no special knowledge? Okay, see this vehicle down here? Is this a fire lane? Is there any vehicle supposed to be parked down here? So what we're probably going to need is probably a bollard somewhere there to basically stop this, because today they stopped here. But tomorrow, if they stop ever so slightly up front just to get one more vehicle in behind them, what you're going to get is this thing won't be able to come down. With that, let's take a look at the second thing that you would notice here as an inspector. Any evidence of maintenance, and this is a 75-year-old building, and you're looking at all the original hardware. Is it hex head or square head? All the hardware.
It's all heads. Or square head.
All square heads, indicating that this is all original. So, and you wrote a violation on this. What's the only cure right now for the violation? In your mind?
Refurbishment.
No, well, yeah, the code is very simple. Load test, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody was to inspect this and they said this is in pristine condition, the only way to guarantee that it's in pristine condition, because you don't want an opinion letter, you want a load test.
Right.
So if a structural engineer was to come here and inspect this and give you evidence that this fire escape is in pristine condition, he has to perform a load test. He has to oversee a load test and send you some inspection criteria on what needs to be done on this fire escape. Once that load test is done, will you be satisfied to remove the violation? And it passes.
Yes.
And then more or less, what's the cycle as the code requires to load test this again?
5 years.
Every 5 years. So that's one of the options. Load test it every 5 years and give you the document, engineer oversight, and you're happy, right?
Is that IFC code?
Well, again, it's in, you're going to find it in the NFPA, you're going to find it in the fire codes, you're going to find it in the building codes.
And life safety?
Well, again, they may not say the 5-year cycle. Some of them have, in every code, say it must be maintained at all times.
That's what I read.
And where the 5-year rule comes into play is that some fire codes pick up the 5-year rule. Some building codes pick up the 5-year rule. And if you are one of those states that doesn't have the 5-year code, what you're going to have is must be maintained at all times. So you literally can walk to this building and force an inspection on it every year if you wish.
That's what our code reads.
Right. So that's where all of a sudden the standards, we're changing the standard nationwide so that it comes in line with everybody else. Everybody in the country is about 5-year cycle for a structural review and a load test. Or on average, if you refurbish the 75-year-old fire escape, a 50 to 75-year-old fire escape, the average cycle for possible load testing is every 25 years. But that's after a complete refurbishment. And this fire escape has no evidence anywhere.
And
has
that's
evidence of damage, has evidence of rust. How about the cement? Do you see any cement issues?
One new bolt on it.
Rusty
and it's
tears?
impossible
You
for
see those? These are what it's called, these stains coming down the wall. Sorry about that. Those are called
And we're gonna
dragon
go into
tears, and those are
Osborne,
evidence that water's getting into the building.
shortly, and
What's the
we'll take
only
a look at
thing
that
you
one.
will allow on this fire escape as proof that the connection into the wall is safe? One is the load test.
Right.
But the second one is, which we explained
The
over there.
drill.
Drill a new hole,
Right.
epoxy bolt it in there, duplicate the connection, keep the original, and now you don't need to verify or load test the connection because on this 75-plus-year-old building, you duplicated all the connections back into the building so you didn't have to do any damage. So did this fire escape pass or fail?
This right now would fail, in my opinion.
And it needs a load test.
Right. Well, you can see evidence up there where they packed grout in there.
In the connection.
Yeah, I can see that on what, the second story, third story.
Right. So you don't have to go up on these fire escapes anymore. Because
Again,
from
all
down
this
here,
is from
you
the
don't
ground
see any
floor.
evidence of
A
maintenance. You don't see
10-story
any
building will
access,
tell
not
you
even
what
on this
condition is on the
cantilever.
first floor.
You see any evidence
Nobody
of
fixes
maintenance.
just
If I
the
was
first
going to
floor
cheat
on
you,
anything.
I would at least change a bolt or two down here. Is that happening anywhere?
The next one is an all welded one. You guys are gonna like the next one.
Well, it's an easy situation.
But not change it all.
Perfect. All right, let's take a look at it. Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training.
You guys have
Okay,
some
we're
of
down
these,
here in
right?
Springfield. And we got a fire escape here that, again, must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. So let's go for the easiest part before you write a violation. Has she been kept painted?
It's been kept painted, but it's gonna fail. Look at that.
There's no paint on this thing.
No?
It's all rust, 100% rust.
Rust sometimes
So
gets
she
so dark. You
must be
think it's
kept painted,
paint.
must be structurally sound. So now she's
Very
already failed the
dark
paint
brown
test.
rust.
Can you order a
Looks
load
like
test
it's
if
a black
it's got no
fire escape,
paint?
but it's not. Look at all the structural problems with this.
Because it's part of your maintenance. It's
And this
either
is
a
an
maintenance
hazard.
issue or a
What's
structural
about to
issue.
show?
Right now you got a maintenance issue. And I will prove to you that rust grows from the connection out. So as soon as you get a fire escape that's been ignored, and this thing to rust it out 100% took 25 plus years. It rusted from the connection, and look at the railing, I mean, where the ladder meets at the bottom.
Look,
Do you see the remnants of a bolt?
Is that gonna get the occupant or the fireman?
Now, that means that if you let the thing rust 100%, every connection has been compromised. So the worst thing you could ever do to a fire escape is let it rust 100%, because it doesn't rust from the inside out. It actually rusts from the outside in. It rusts from the inside out.
Right.
So right now, this fire escape that somebody in this building has ignored for 25 years, is she structurally sound in any way?
No.
So she's compromised every connection. So you write a violation, and the cure.
Somebody working on it up there.
Get the ladder up to
Got
the
the
roof
wire
now.
ties right there holding it up.
Yeah. And the ladder broke already. So you think a fireman's already going to get hurt on this one?
Yes.
So this one has one more thing.
It doesn't
It's
have
got
any-
life safety issues.
Yeah.
So now, what has to happen on this particular building when you write the violation on this one? Is it a simple
No.
That's
fire
what
escape
she talked
violation?
about. When
This
you
is a
have a
life
life safety issue.
But this is a life safety issue.
Right.
As soon as it goes
Even
red, you got
before they
other
get a chance to
problems
refurbish, even before they get
now. Painting
anything,
the building.
you might order a watch over here.
Watch.
You might order some scaffolding, temporary
The word
scaffolding.
repair is gonna come on this anyway,
Or you
so
want
automatically
emergency
building
repairs on this right away
department's
because
Right now, can any
Now
of
you
these
got
tenants
friends
get out
to get yelled
without
at.
this thing collapsing and hurting themselves?
Because there's been a referral.
A fireman in the middle of the night with smoky
subcode
conditions when he
subcode
noticed these things, when he's jumping on this thing.
No.
So is this a life safety issue?
Yes.
So right now you've got situations when you get there and this is the bastard child of egress. Nobody cares about these things. But this one is not. This is a hand grenade. The pin already pulled out.
Yeah.
Let's go. There's another one right next to it. Let's see what this next one can do. And then we're gonna go hit that one over there. That looks like it's been kept painted. Somebody just refurbished it and repainted it. So,
black
I thought there was another one here. And we're gonna go hit that other fire escape over there. But let's walk around the.
I'll end on this.
Do you know this
one
address?
Now, and then I'm going to show Osborne for you.
Across.
And
so,
Osborne is 10 fire
now,
escapes, I believe.
must be structurally sound. Must be kept painted. Let's take a look at the
whole project.
We're doing what's called a downtown walk
messed up.
around, and we do this all the time with fire departments all over the country. And all these videos are free online, from Boston to California to Seattle to Texas, Chicago. We can get in this way. So the rule in every code, NFPA, building code, fire codes, housing codes, must be kept painted, must be structurally sound. This one.
The importance
Looks like
about
somebody
this
kept
fire
it
escape
painted,
is an all welded fire escape, guys. So
she looks pretty
watch
good,
what
right?
happens when welds.
Looks like they changed all the grading out.
Source of
This looks like a full
escape.
refurb.
It's all painted. It looks beautiful, but from a far away, I even thought it was a perfectly good
What do you
fire
think
escape
so
ready
far?
for a load test. But look at that.
Looks new. Well, it looks. Let's look at a couple things that we have to concern ourselves with. Is it a bolted fire escape or is it a welded fire escape? Okay. And let me tell you the concerns you might have with weld. Welds, unless they're sealed, do you think the water gets in from above and eats these welds? So, because they just recently painted this thing, let's take a look at some indications. This is a grade indicator right here. See this grading? Look straight up and look at the angle. You see some bulging happening on the angle that's holding up the grading? So she's tack welded, but you see some bulges. You see that the thing is waving?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's rust behind it.
There's rust behind it. Now look at the treads. Look straight up at these treads. Right?
Yeah.
Bulges?
Yeah,
So even though she looks great, she looked like a new fire escape to you. Look straight up here. How do you get that big of a bulge?
You got that rust in there?
Only rust. Right, so.
That's what drops occupants.
This is an all welded fire
That's what
escape.
drops firemen. But if you load tested this fire escape,
The only way, actually, let's go
If
down
load
here.
tested, we'd have
Thank God
broken
for zoom
treads.
lens here.
So in some cases, we're like,
Look
no,
at every
it's
one of
good.
those.
We're like, hey, load tested. You've got load testing
And
all
do you
these
see
bad
bulges in
treads.
every
Guess what
single
keeps
one?
starts falling?
Okay, so now.
So you can always pull the load
You're
test
about
card
to
when
write a
somebody is
violation on this
really
one.
adamant about their
To do what?
engineer
What's the
who is
first order
trained
on
at Rutgers and
I need a load
you know,
test,
and
right?
his word is God.
And the guy's gonna
Like,
come back
okay,
to you and
then
say,
load
hey.
test it for me. I need a
But I
guarantee
just-
because I
I
got
just
rust
had
in
it
the
all painted. I
connection.
just had
No matter how he
refreshed it.
yells at you, you can say,
But I
hey,
need a
the law says very
engineer.
clear. Either I'm
I've noticed
satisfied,
evidence
I
of
order
rust
a
in your
load test.
connections.
And right now, if you want to give me this fire escape
how
that
can I
has
verify,
connection rust,
besides the
I'm
load
not
test,
satisfied.
a welded connection? How can
But
I
if you're going to
verify?
fight me in
Where
court, then load test
it's
it.
with an X-ray.
That way we can
You
all
know,
walk away.
you know how expensive an X-ray is to X-ray every one of these welds? You want to
So-
know a cheaper one? If I go in and
I'm
I
going to step
drill
out of this one,
every
and then
single one of these,
we're
and I put a
at the end of
bolt
the
in there,
class. I'm going to do
what's the new
Osborne,
connection now?
and then
So
scope it up for
bolt or the
questions,
whole weld?
and just make sure that you guys understand
But I
that.
have a problem because
Let me just get in and out of this one.
Excuse me.
Yes.
That particular one is out of compliance straight from get-go. Because what the code says under the retrofit and whatnot, if it's the outside stairs and it's a fire escape and whatnot, there's supposed to be a roof over top of it for snow and everything else. It's out of compliance from
Yeah,
Jump
in the
Street.
retrofit, you know, I had that as one of my classes through Kane. A lot of the fire officials, oh, the retrofit law, blah blah blah. You know, I said there's a million laws that people are not complying with, and that if you start complying with everything that needs to be compliant, nobody can live anywhere. And yes, there is a retrofit law. Right now, I'm at the basics ABC, and the ABC is the existing fire escape is supposed to be structurally sound and it's supposed to get painted through two means of proof: load tested Or refurbish it.
And
then, like you said, correct, you know.
It's out of compliance because and whatnot for snow and all the other stuff and whatnot. It must be removed from the stairs and whatnot. And if the stairs is on the outside, exterior and whatnot, metal, or fire escape stairs and whatnot, it has to have a cover over top of it and whatnot, under the retrofit.
Majority of the fire escapes until...
And they don't.
Yeah.
And then they don't. And you refer it down to the building department under the retrofit because we can't make them install. We can only send a referral down there and whatnot. Nothing happens.
Repair. As soon as you start with the word repair, two people now are holding hands on that one fire escape. And if they want to push that law, let them. You're just stating a violation that you minimally just want it safe for occupants and firemen. Whether or not they want to initiate that retrofit is now it's the subcode guys. The word repair brought in a partner.
Where they really pushed that is in places of assembly. And in schools, we did have one school that had an outside fire escape. They're no longer using that school right now. But Rector Street, they did have an outside fire escape. They had that covered. In places of assembly, nightclubs and stuff that got outside fire escape, they really pushed that.
They pushed it there, but in the factories,
but there are some that don't have it.
Factories and other places like that, where you got large groups of people working and whatnot, they haven't did anything. And we sent referrals down there. It's as far as back as in the late '90s and whatnot. We sent them in there and whatnot. And they haven't did it. The violations are open and whatnot. And the building department hasn't complied, and nobody has wrote the eminent hazard on it. You know what? They don't want you to do an eminent hazard.
Fire escape engine. Yep. This is 2 Osborne. And again, what we did is, aside from sending you inspection criteria regarding Osborne to see if we're qualified to inspect, we sent you a copy of
summary video.
Summary video. And this is inside. This is a big mess. This is a big mess inside, a big mess outside.
All right, so I've got one of the contractors here that have done some work already. And what we're going to do is we're going to step outside and we're going to talk about just what is the things that I need to do in order to pass this fire escape. I either need to load test it, or I need a certified repair so that I don't have to load test it. So if I find anything in here that wasn't certified repaired, then the only other option I have for is a load test. But a lot of times the load test is much more expensive than the certified repair, which is a lot of times is changing the bolt, clean the rust, reconnect the bolt, and seal it with silicone. So you're going to find that it's a lot cheaper to do that. So let's pop out.
At the end of this, because they stripped all the walls, you can see the inside connection. It's a steel bar that comes in.
Of our conversation on the inside.
Opened up like that on the inside. So we actually verified at the end that all the supports were into the building. Correct.
So each one is 50 to 75 years old. My only way to guarantee it is load test it, or if you can cut these bolts out, clean out all the rust inside here, and some of them have it, and change the bolts, put it back, and then seal it. That's a certified repair. Then I can sign off on it. Okay, so right now all of these are original hardware. So let's come down to this side over here. If I look up the entire fire escape, you see all the connections and all the rust that's inside here? So as soon as you change this out, I need this whole tread to come out, clean it, prime it, and then put it back, put the bolts in it, and then repaint it. So that it goes back to black, okay?
It was 100% painted already.
The rails,
way before they fixed it.
See this connection here? The only thing I can do is load test it, or change the bolt, and I don't have to load test it. The bolt, change it, or I have to load test it. Okay? See all these three right here? Change it.
See the corners? Riveted corners?
This is easy.
As soon as I change those 3 corners, we're good.
Like this.
You leave it alone, I gotta load test it.
Got the heads, pop them out, put in new bolts, drive a wedge in between them, a little chisel wedge, and then just clean it out, blow it out. And whenever possible, sometimes you spray in there a little bit of primer, and whenever possible, if you can, you squeeze some silicone in there before you squish it, and then you just run your fingers and you seal it with silicone with 3 new bolts. That's a certified corner repair. See this bolt down here? I need that bolt cleaned out, a new bolt in there, and then this area cleaned out, and whenever you can, I would use either tar or silicone in the corner to basically seal that up from future corrosion. You see this bolt? You got to change that bolt, and you got to clean underneath it. You see all these rivets coming this way? You don't have to do anything to these because these run the opposite.
They're called minor connections.
So
minor connections
don't
need to be removed.
front. I need those done. See this bracket that's underneath here? See how that nut is gone? Yes. I need all that. I need the rust cleaned, and I need that nut changed and seal it with silicone. I already talked to you about the bracket underneath, which we can look up.
Inspector summer review. The inspector tells you what's wrong, but he also tells you what he wants to do to fix it.
What's wrong with this
So that
ribbon?
any vendor can use this as
75
what
years
is
old.
going to pass this structure.
The only way I can guarantee it and sign off on it is I do a load test.
You guys, yep,
You
I
come in
agree.
here,
Do
you
all
cut
those
that ribbon
things.
out, and you put a new bolt
I'm
in
trying
there.
to satisfy her.
You cut that ribbon in the back,
that we're going to structurally fix this
and
and
I have
move
a
a load
certified
test.
repair. I can sign off on it. These connections into the wall are unverifiable. You know what I'm saying? But you still got to repack these connections and tight, make sure that the cement tight. But now, 5 inches away, you drill a 3/4 bolt, and you put an epoxy bolt next to it, and then you put a clip back to this, and you bolt it here with a clip here. But now it's too cold for epoxies. You may have to do all this repair work, and these epoxies will have to be done in the spring, April or May. Because you'll still get your certification now, but that's one of the things that's going to be holding it for the future is that the epoxy into the wall needs to be done, but it's too cold. If you don't
It
have
was
days
later
of 60,
verified that you
70
can't see all the
continuous,
connections on the
they don't
inside
cure
because every wall was
correctly.
stripped, so I can see it.
So, but that's something the city was willing to work with us because of the winter only. Everything else can be done regardless of all the rest of the structure. That's the only internal activity you have to do. Okay? So with that, you have the stringer clips at the top. See these two stringer clips up here?
Yes.
Those need to be cleaned out and rebolted. This one and that one.
So once
That's
you talk
the
about
standard
one
repair.
floor, and I've got 10 floors, do I have to talk about all
See these
10
railings
floors,
here?
or
This
one
is all
floor represents all floors?
You gotta tell him every floor.
We always like
Well,
to
a lot of times when you tell them
throw in a
about
couple
one,
straps.
it repeats itself 10 times.
Here,
so it's
here.
the same technique.
Because in case you trip and fall, a child will pop through these and fall to their death. So you want to put some straps in here. Okay? See this release arm? This ladder? She's working pretty well. It needs very little weight for this thing to drop by itself. And what you're going to do is, first of all, this thing is crazy. It's a trip hazard. But that's like the foot for that thing, and it's just done wrong. Okay? I think the bolt is there. There's yet, if you put your hand underneath here, you can see that this was kind of Mickey Mouse. It's a trip hazard.
So they should just be able to L it right there?
Yeah, they should be able to L it and bracket it differently because this is a trip hazard. But the original hardware is here. You got to change out the original hardware. If I had a release arm, I think what this thing was a release arm is one of two ways. I can have an arm here that does this because she wants to fall, and if this thing would balance correctly, the arm would do this, and as soon as I pull it away, this thing will drop by itself. Or even faster and cheaper, you get a chain from Home Depot. You drill a hole here. You have a chain that goes down, goes around this thing, comes back up, and hooks onto a hook. And you put that chain
Pretty
here.
simple, right?
Well, I would agree
Now
with that,
the
yeah.
chain, in case there's a failure of this cable, this ladder won't fly down.
Do that. They wrap it
Okay,
around.
so
Some
break
people
it to the
lock
building
it.
down below.
Chain, it's a release we make.
Chain is
We
acting
either make
as
a
a
release arm
Okay.
bar
As a
or use the
holder.
chain.
Release
Because
arm.
as soon as you release the chain
As soon as you
doesn't
release
fall
it with the
away.
chain, the chain just
But it
drops,
lets
and
the
that's why it's
it lets the
bolted here.
ladder fall away.
So the chain just
It's not a
hangs.
homeowner's chain,
That's
it's
what stops
a chain
people
installed by a
breaking the
professional.
Okay, any questions on anything that needs to be done? This is 10 stories times 10 fire escapes. Any questions on what this is?
No, I made him aware.
Now, we're going to do
I
an
told him,
inspection on each
that's
and
why we
every single
explained
one
it
of
to
these
him. This is
platforms.
what you're going to do.
We're
He's not going to do what he
which ones
wants.
have good
And this
work.
needed engineer oversight. I don't know if
Photographs and video, which ones have
if they've
good
got
ladders,
anybody working on
which
the
ones
fire escape,
don't,
but the rule is,
which ones
and
have
we
good
told them,
cement,
and we sent you a letter
don't
stating
photograph
that they
them.
need engineer oversight even to
Yeah,
watch
but
this
it's
guy
still
fix it.
needs to be identified as a violation. We're going to tell you which ones are both,
I
which
know,
ones
I
are not.
said-
And we're going to have a general conversation about the entire fire escape 10 times. So there'll be 10 reports, 10
A lot of crazy
photographs,
things happening in that building.
and about just what the general condition is of the fire escape. Okay? And the fact that it's all painted is the one thing you don't have to do here. Nobody has to paint these fire escapes if they're freshly painted. But the only thing structurally she has problem with the structure. Okay? Yeah, because I can't load test it in the as-is condition. Very good. All right, what's your thing now?
Inspector release at Newark, New Jersey, Osborne Street. This Inspector Sutter report, and we're standing here on a.
Let me show you one last one, and then we'll open it up to questions. And this is one is Flatbush.
The dude told me, well, you go walk on. I said, well, you go walk on. I'm not going out there. That, you know that building's been sold since, right? I don't know when you did that, but it's been sold.
Since you wrote about within the past month or two?
It was sold with the violations.
No, a few months ago it was sold. Agawal doesn't own it anymore.
Who violations? Mine?
Oh, mine,
Board of Appeals with my violation.
All three of them, man. 7, 9, 11.
Yeah, mine, yours, or somebody else's.
It showed me how long.
And I heard.
I think the only one he was really appealing was
The basement.
The basement, the means of egress for the basement.
But I still took Gwen because Gwen had asked for pull stations in 2007. So I took Gwen.
But
He
did that right, except that he couldn't produce any permits where he pulled to install those pull stations.
Yeah. So I had 3 years of violations on it.
But you got to be particular when you go up there. Because they're very particular.
Yes.
You've been up there.
They know, but
we've been up there, and you make one thing wrong, even missing the dot or the period in the code there, and then they're going to reschedule and say, well, you didn't write the code correctly.
They said, did you do a re-inspection? We said, we made contact over the phone. He said, no.
When he came over, did you go there?
He picked them violations up on that day.
She's still doing it.
Yeah. Because going up for what you told me. Once I put him in for penalties, I ain't have to go back. You told me that you do it.
Well, for everybody information, while he's looking for that, anytime we get a case in the Construction Board of Appeals, the day or two before the case come up, they want you to go down and do a re-inspection. Even if it's in court, they want you to go down and do a re-inspection because they're going to ask you, what are the conditions now? As opposed to that. So if we get something for the Construction Board of Appeals and we got to go up there a day or two before you're scheduled to go up there, you need to go out and do a re-inspection to see if the violation that you actually wrote still exists.
Right, he asked that and he said,
he said he wouldn't let it in.
No, I didn't. He said he came up here.
He said he didn't want her to go back and do
He didn't want me to go back and do no inspection.
Well,
and he agreed to that. But he was supposed to be in penalties. So they did ask, well,
who put him in
penalties?
Who put him in? Gary or Yvonne?
She didn't have a penalty letter to prove that.
Gary or Yvonne?
I don't know. You have to ask Chief Stewart.
You said Yvonne.
So Chief Stewart said give everything to Yvonne. Give it to him. Give it to Yvonne.
Malie, shut up.
So is all your stuff in penalties?
Let me cut your hair. Come on. Let me fix your hair for you.
Piece right here.
Because it's hanging.
Yvonne got a
Well, see, the thing of it is, it's the inspector themselves going to have to take responsibility for their own action. They can't say that the supervisor or the fire official did this, that. It's the inspector that actually goes to the site that's responsible for that inspection.
Right, but how do you put it in? So how do you put it in for penalties then? Tell me how to do that.
Give
then I can just bypass.
That's going to be a part.
What I'm saying is they ask for
it's going to be.
penalties.
It's in your computer system now. As soon as we get that thing operational next year, you'll be able to write your own penalties.
And they come right in.
That was supposed to be penalties when me and Arson went there for the fire.
That's when Gary was.
This is a typical inspection report. This is the last one.
Summary video.
This is in New York.
Here. We're on Brooklyn, New York. Farscape. Farscape is very serious condition. It's in a state of collapse. The entire farscape is very, very bad. And it's fallen. Hasn't seen a repair or paint job in 25 to 50 years. We got rust growing everywhere. Everything is breaking. This is a great farscape to learn what happens when you ignore a fire escape. Everything is eaten. Look at all this. The bolts are still there. The bolts are missing. This farscape, if you would step on it, or a fireman was to step on this thing, this thing will
no building inspector or fire guy ever saw this.
All original hardware. Farscape needs 100% refurbishment.
You say it's occupied or vacant?
Job. As well as, because this was an addition to the building that they put in here, it used to go down to the ground, so they need a catwalk all the way down here. There's a bakery now. They need a catwalk all the way down here, up and over, and into this yard. Because right now you can't get down there any other way. So right now this farscape needs to come down, but it needs a full refurbishment. 100% rebolting of every connection. All the connections into the wall need to be verified because they're all unverifiable, very porous wall. And as you can see, all the connections into the wall are pretty bad. So
where's that at?
Reinforce or rebolt.
Flatbush.
Rails are bad. All the connections, all the heads are missing.
It's a landlocked building with a fire escape on the street before. But I mean, it's an alleyway landlocked building where you got 2 blocks.
Kind of wanted or missing.
If it's row housing, you get into the back alleyway, shared alleyway or shared backyards with people. It doesn't even get down to the ground.
It's an active building, so we have to make sure that this fire escape...
No, there's nothing. I made them mention there's not even a catwalk to get you to a ladder to get down. You have to jump 10 feet down.
You got that down on Broad Street here. They went up on Broad Street between Broad and Halsey Street and whatnot. The building's landlocked.
Yeah, you have to have a catwalk to get you up and over vents. You can't put people blindly up there. They have to walk. And in case there's a fire on the roof, the firemen fall through roofs. That's why catwalks are needed. It's for the tenants to get out, but firemen to use a bridge to get, in case there's a fire on the roof, they don't fall through a collapsing roof.
Engineers, 800-649-3333.
Just by riding around in New York, though, somebody has to
No, we were called for an inspection. So now, in our inspection that you would get, when we send to you, we basically tell the client, we use photographs to tell what's wrong. So now this is all photographs of that are going to be part of the report, and it also has little clips that talk about the engineer oversight. So these are things that we're telling people that have to do, but some of these people are like, no, this is just a scrape and paint job. I've been doing that for 30 years, scraping and painting. So don't go making this thing bigger than it is. And that's why we have these classes, because these classes are now starting to change the mindset here. Believe me, you're not going to get an owner that's going to feed back. He's going to push back or fight back with you.
A catwalk is the actual metal.
Right, a catwalk is over a roof is the actual metal.
It's like that.
Right.
Like look.
And with railings on both sides, and it keeps me.
So if the roof goes in, the catwalk is supposed to hold.
Yeah, it's supposed to hold your firemen. By that time, it's the firemen that are walking through with their suits using the catwalk.
Now, some people think that it's efficient just to put a railing to lead the person. You know,
yeah.
Like a whole railing there. You're not.
Or wood.
You're not
I've seen wood catwalks too.
Yeah.
So let's answer that question. The rule is very simple. I can match the building types. If I have a wood structure, I can put a wood catwalk, elevated off the rooftop, and it must be at least 2 inches thick in all directions. That's a fire rating. So I don't have to have a metal fire escape on a wood structure. I can have a wood structure. I can have a wood fire escape on a wood structure. It's just got to be thick. It's got to meet the minimum thickness for fire rating. Otherwise, the traditional, because fire escapes that are made of wood only last 15 to 25 years, and you're totally replacing them. Metal ones, you can ignore them for 75 years, refurbish them, and get another 75 years out of them. So that's why metal is the better choice, but it doesn't have to be the only choice. But you get into a rated building that is masonry building, they have to have a metal fire escape.
Chief Stewart, you know the houses down here off of New Jersey Railroad, like Oliver Street and all that.
Yeah,
you know how they have all that's wood in the back. That's the fire escape. That's considered their meant to be fire escape.
Yeah, and that's where you'll see some wood catwalks too.
15 years? No, but it's not metal at all.
It's green wood.
Pressure treated wood.
Yeah, but the catwalks are wood too.
But he just said 15 years. So in 15 years' time,
Every 15 to 25 years, yeah.
we go there and we tell them to demolish the back of that house. And I mean, it's really big. It's not like something like a porch almost.
Yeah, it's the back porch.
So they have to take all of that down?
Probably we will have to start from now because nobody may not have records when that thing was actually erected or constructed.
It was constructed when the house, those are pretty new. Like
yeah, but if you maintain them, it'll last longer than 25. People that do not maintain wood pressure-treated structures, they will fall apart in 15 to 25 years, depending if it's on the north side or south side.
Okay.
Yeah, but a pressure-treated wood structure left alone, it'll fall apart in 25 years.
Now the problem is, like she was saying, especially down in the East Ward, and John was saying it earlier, it's a lot of people putting up fire protection equipment, never took out permits for it in the first place. So we don't know sometime when it was actually done because the building department will have no records of them people pulling a permit.
Let's open it up to questions and I'll answer it on that one. Whenever you get to one and you've got a ladder up the side of the building and no balcony, and they say that is my second means of egress, that's illegal. You need a platform to get out, to get to a ladder to go down to the ground. But they snuck this in, they shoehorned this in. You know how you get around? Just write your repair, paint, test, and they must verify that the fire escape that's there was legally permitted. If it was not, guess what they have to put in? They got to take the whole thing down and no ladder now. Now they got to put a door where that window is, full metal stairs to the ground because somebody 40 years ago didn't pull a permit. They just threw a ladder here. So
now that has happened though. The building department has made
the issue.
It was over near.
Without a permit, you have the right to tear it all down and meet the current code.
Yeah, and over near 7th Avenue and 5th Street is a great big house over there. I don't know if you may know where I'm talking about. but they went and put up a fire escape there without applying for a permit. It looks good. It looked like a beautiful fire escape, but they didn't apply, and the building department didn't make them tear that whole fire escape down.
That's done very rarely.
But I mean,
you know it's done very rarely.
It's there. It can be enforced.
Escape Services. We provide inspections and certifications, repairs, and load tests to remove violations in your area and nationwide. So whether you're an inspector or whether you're somebody, you have your own home, you have your own building, the first thing is the law is very clear. It must be structurally sound and must be kept painted. So is the fire escape painted or is it not painted? And does it have more paint than rust or more rust than paint? So I can just look at this fire escape and say that I have evidence right now that there's more rust than paint on this fire escape. So immediately, if you were to call an inspector out here, the law doesn't allow him to pass this fire escape simply because it has more rust than paint. And structural means that if the fire escape is 50 to 75 years old, when any inspector is looking at it, he's got to see some evidence of maintenance. And maintenance means that I have to see a change in bolts, I have to see a change in rivets, I have to see some new hardware. Because when I go up to a fire escape, I see nothing but original hardware. That hardware is 50 to 75 years old. It's been out in the weather 50 to 75 years, and it's just impossible for not one of those rivets, one of those bolts to be changed in 50 to 75 years. And whenever that occurs, what I have is a fire escape that somebody's been constantly painting, but they've never done anything structurally to it. So now that makes the entire fire escape pretty much suspect. So now I have to be careful as to what I'm looking at to make sure that the structural now, on especially the major structural connections, are in good order. Thank you for watching our video. Please call us today at 800-649-3333 to discuss your fire escape issue with a live inspector or schedule an inspection in your area today. Academy Inspector Training video. We're here in downtown Newark. So we've already talked about this fire escape, that the fact that this 20-foot long ladder is missing, there is a life safety issue here, right? But then we also noticed that there is an occupied second floor, which looks like a beauty salon. A beauty salon. Mm-hmm. Where's its second means of egress, other than this is one staircase up and there's nothing out of the back, correct? No. Okay, so what used to be here was probably another set of staircases. There was. See that hole? See the little bracket right here? Yeah, you see the hole though? The hole in the bottom? There was another staircase that used to come. They removed it. And they put in all those windows straight across, but the fire escape looked ugly. So right now, to play with this building, you have a non-conforming structure because that business didn't have any right to be up on that second floor. Whoever made the lease didn't satisfy the code, which is 2 means of egress. So you have an illegal rental on the second floor, which can be easily resolved. So let's resolve it right away. What can we do? What you have to do immediately is put another staircase coming back down, or put a platform somewhere here with a staircase down to the ground or a ladder down to the ground to get that minimally the second floor compliant. But it also needs you to completely put the staircase back in, picking up all the other floors up above. Okay, so that's right now, if you want to play with this guy, if he's really being a hard one with you guys, you say, hey, not only is your first floor an issue because it has 1 means of egress in and out, your second floor doesn't have 2 means of egress, so you're currently in violation of the building code, not a fire code, building code, but also the fire code, which means every structure must have 2 means of egress out. So this fire escape now needs to be dealt with. And is this a life safety issue? Because in case there's a fire here in the beauty salon, are we fighting a fire when we get here, or are we doing a rescue?
Rescue.
Right? Because if there's a trash can fire right here at this front, a car careens out of the way and it crashes right here. If that car crashes right here and it sets this staircase, how do these people get out without you guys?
They can't.
So there's a second means of egress missing in here that somebody may or may have not known that is currently happening. So if this guy is not aware, you guys can keep finding problems and after problems, and you may have to shut down that upstairs until such time that the second means of egress is satisfied. And that is a balcony right there that feeds from that window, and then a ladder coming down in between the two. So there may be some modification to this system here to basically have a 24-inch space there for the ladder to come down. Okay? So it's things like that that occur in many situations where the fire escape is the only way to satisfy the second means of egress. So the upper has to be refurbished so that the firefighters have the ability to fight a fire on this building. But right now, the first and second floor, including this one, do you believe that there's a second floor on this one?
No.
Is there a fire escape on the second floor?
No, not to my knowledge.
So that guy, where that guy's coming out, is the only means up? You get a fire on the second floor here, you got a rescue mission first, then a firefight. So a lot of times they'll join a fire escape right here between the two. One that goes, picks up this, and then have a common ladder to the ground. Will that automatically satisfy the second means?
Yes.
So now you have a life safety issue at 186. Yeah, it's a life safety issue because it's a rescue mission as soon as you get here, but it's also a building code violation in that you can't rent anything on the second floor without having two means of egress. Okay? Any questions, Fire Escape Academy? We're here in downtown alleyways in Newark. So, what's the first thing you notice right at the very top? Chain. Will this thing work?
No.
Life safety issue?
Yes.
Severe damage from trucks. Life safety issue?
Yes.
Okay. That kind of hit. Let's take a look at the bolts. What kind of bolts? Square heads, right?
Square head, yeah.
Right? Any welded repairs that you can see? Is this one?
None.
See the weld? Missing the bolts, and they just welded it, right? Yeah. So, and again, so all original hardware. Non-functioning cantilever because it won't come down. So, and you think this is an active second floor building, right?
Yeah, it is.
Life safety issue. So
yes.
so when the firemen show up at this one, is it a firefight or is it rescue first?
Rescue.
So how many minutes are going to be lost? A lot on this one.
Especially with this stuff down here.
And then we also have debris and blockage. Okay, let's not go too far. How about this over here? Is there something missing? Is there a bracket missing?
Yeah.
Something's missing here. I don't understand how this thing works. Okay. Original hardware, or is it? Does it have any evidence of maintenance that you can see?
Not at all.
Okay. So needs a paint job, and there's no evidence of maintenance, right? And let's see if you see any rust.
You guys don't have anywhere else to store these garbage cans than right here under the fire escape? Because you guys are gonna have to move these. Okay, we'll move them. Yep, thank you. Definitely move them.
Take a look at the gusset. What do you see about the gusset?
It's open.
Right.
Yeah.
Expanding. It's called rust jacking.
Yeah. Rust jacking.
Right. What's that back corner? Rust jacking?
Yep.
What about that top corner? Look at that top corner. Rust jacking on that top corner? So life safety issue on this one, to your knowledge, you think if you were to load 100 pounds per square foot, you think these blown out gussets would take this load? So it's a life safety issue? Ready to drop down here? Okay, so now we're going to turn, this is another staircase, and this one, I may be able to lift this one. Let me just check it out, hold on. But it is a weighted balance, but they permanently fixed it. Now, what's missing on this side? Life safety issue? Let's look underneath here. All original hardware?
That's all original.
Rusty connections? Any treads missing? So as you start looking up, do you see any treads missing? So you already have a life safety issue, which is the rails are missing, but do you see any other rails missing or treads missing? We're going to keep looking up. So looking straight up here, I'm sorry. Looking straight up here. What's missing? Stairs is gone. Sometimes it falls right into the dumpster, but it's not even here. Is that a life safety issue for the occupants or the firemen? Let's look straight up, see if we see anything else. Any other treads missing, looking straight up.
It looks like one is missing on that second one.
Yeah. All original hardware. You see any evidence of maintenance?
None.
Any rust bulges?
Yes.
Rust jacking at all the Look at right here. Ready? Straight up to that gusset. The middle one here.
Yeah.
At the bottom corner. How blown out is that?
It is.
Is that a life safety issue there?
Definitely.
So these are easy to spot. So right now you've got a red here. And how easy is it for you guys to get things moving on a red one?
Quickly.
Okay?
Quicker than a yellow.
Quicker than a yellow. So you tag the yellows, but in this building, which could be the same owner, and I think it is, we got two means of egress, and both of them are currently out for the occupants and the firemen. And we know what the building address is for here? Is it the Rainbow? Yeah, Rainbow Shop. All the upper floors. Academy Inspector training video. We're here in Newark. We're doing some training on some alleyway fire escapes. And tell me about that barbed wire. What's the big problem with barbed wire? Is it legal or illegal?
It's illegal.
Who does it hurt? The occupants and who else?
The firefighters.
The firefighters trying to do anything and everything. They're going to get hurt. I know there's some break-in issues. You know, there's been a break-in issues, I'm sure, but that's not how you deal with break-in issues, by putting illegal barbed wire, which can hurt. Is that weight box ready to drop on somebody's head?
Yes, it is.
Is the ladder missing?
Yes.
So this ladder missing, meaning, is this part of that story? 50 people trapped on a fire escape?
Yeah.
You get hit to a fire, the first thing you're doing is rescue, not firefighting, you're rescuing. So is this a life safety issue?
Yes, it is.
Okay. You got a rotten fire escape that has nothing but rivets. And look at the wall.
Space in the walls.
Look at all the openings in the walls. Water getting in there?
Yes.
Treads, you see, when you start looking up, the life safety issue is that you can't get down, so you already have a life safety issue. You don't really need any more. But any treads up above? Missing treads? Straight up. Straight up there. Is that a gap in the wall?
Okay.
Is that a life safety issue for either occupants or your firemen who are going to show up here in the middle of the night? So we have a life safety issue on this building?
Yes.
Things are going to move a little quicker because it's life safety?
It's a red tag.
It's already red. Needs a paint job?
Yep. Straight paint and repair.
If somebody starts scraping and painting it way before the repair, will you allow it?
No.
Will you stop it right away?
Yes.
How about the EPA requirements? Is this this thing got lead? Older than 1978?
Yes.
Must be a licensed renovator to even touch it?
Yes.
And that includes plastics down here to catch all the chips and everything, right? So until the engineer speaks with you, you're not going to allow it. And when you write the violation, it says repair, paint, test. Who's your second compadre on this one?
Subcode.
Subcode guy is going to be made aware that we've got some violations going on and that a permit is pending. With that, let's take a look at this one over there. And we'll sort of walk back. We'll see. This looks like it has a gate or opening with a lock. But let's look at that fire escape anyway. Any missing treads looking straight up?
Yes.
Any?
We don't have a ladder either.
How do you get down?
The ladder is gone.
The ladder's gone. Life safety issue?
Yes.
Okay. Imminent hazard. Tie backs into the building. You see any rusty tears coming out of the walls?
Yes.
Any change? Any original hardware changes? Any evidence of maintenance in that 50 to 75-year-old structure?
None.
You have to see anything further?
Nope.
Nope. You've got everything you need. It needs a paint job, and it has imminent danger. And when it's riveted, it's older than the square heads, right? So this is a very, very old structure here, and so much so that we got debris, wires, barbed wire, and these are all things that the owner was worried about break-ins and such, but now he has to sort of deal with this because this is going to hurt and kill somebody, or at least cut them up and infect them. So, life safety issues. Downtown walk around, Newark, New Jersey, Fire Escape Academy, Inspector training videos. Fire Escape Academy, Inspector training video. Here we are in Newark, New Jersey. We have several things. Standard fire escape with blockage and razor wire and all kinds of things. We have ladders to the roof with chains on them so that you can't even get this down and use it in any way, broken ladders. And we got a basement. We got a basement one here so that somebody has to use that. Firemen have to use this ladder or this staircase, or the people getting out of the basement, if that's an office or whatever it may be, they need to come up this way.
No.
So
This is the ticket office, right?
I did. The front, I did.
What is this here?
This is the office, but you need tickets?
No, I was just wondering.
No,
just the back of the ticket office. Okay.
So looking down, guys, look at the clips up here. Do you see any rust on the clips?
Yep.
Right there on that clip. Yeah. On the stairs, you see any change of hardware?
No.
If you all come over here, you can actually see, looking straight down, how the rivets are gone. The bolts that hold up the whole staircase.
Oh, yeah, right here.
Okay, now look at down. When you wiggle that whole thing, look how it wiggles down at the bottom.
Yeah, so that means that's down there.
So is this an imminent danger?
Imminent, yep. And also they have the padlock on the gate.
And there's a padlock on the gate.
Exactly.
Okay, so, but even if they say, well, that's just storage down there. Okay, let's say that is just storage. Is this still an imminent danger?
Yes.
For who?
For the person that's down there doing
For the firefighter. For the firefighter. Let's look up. This way. Is this an imminent danger for the firefighter?
Yes. Yes.
Why?
The chain is locked.
Chain is locking it.
Plus it's
Broken bars.
Some of them.
Right? So that's imminent danger here. Okay, now let's look at this one. Got razor wire, which sometimes in some states razor wire is no longer allowed unless it's up at a certain height. I don't know if that's the case, but we got razor wire all down here. Could children come here and cut themselves with this razor wire?
Yes.
So is this an imminent danger issue? Okay, life safety issue. There's a chain that's happening here. Somebody's got this chain stuff happening here. Is this allowed?
No.
Chains, okay. I don't see a dog or anything in here. So let's go in here for a second. Let's get up close to this fire escape. Is this allowed?
No. Oh, no.
All right, so now the fact that we have a beautiful fire escape here, we have a lot of things wrong with it. This is great. Look at this, guys. Let me show you what rust and iron and cement does. Look at that.
Oh yeah, that is.
You don't normally get to see this, but this is what happens when you have porous cement feeding water to this,
Not even connected anymore.
right? And all of this, it all rusts and all grows and spalls and splits. So what's happening in this one? You think it's happening in this one?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So now, can you load test this the way it is?
No.
All right. Now let's get underneath. Let's get underneath this here. You see any rust buildup in all these connections.
Yes.
So now you wouldn't be able to normally get up this close. Look at all the bolts. Any bolts missing?
Yes.
These original hardware. Okay. See the rust up there?
Bolts are missing here too.
On the rails.
See right here?
Look at all the bulges. Yep, bolts are missing. Yep,
Right
cement smashed. So is this now
That's an
a yellow or is this going into a red?
That's a red.
Okay, so now you're coming down here. Look at these connections. Look at these connections on the ground. So once it goes red, can you have a little bit more power than a yellow?
Yes. Yeah, a lot.
So once it's red, it's immediate. You're going to deal with it immediately. Now look at this, guys. This is important.
Oh yeah.
This used to have bolts. It used to, and here's a weld. Please come look at this. Somebody came in here, and they welded this. Instead of changing out the bolts and cleaning it, they just welded it. Now look what happens when you let the rust continue. See how it just tears a weld? And there's another weld here. It's just tore. So it tore the weld on this side, and look at the crazy weld on that side. So whenever you see a guy welding a fire escape and never removing the rust, how many years you think it's going to take before that weld snaps again?
2 years.
1 to 2 years, right? If that, because they never remove the rust. Once you put a bolt in there.
So this is probably what they did right here then, right? See, it's nothing there.
Right. So instead of rebolting this and cleaning it out and then rebolting it, they started welding it in every direction.
Okay.
And they started using welds. See,
this will go.
Yeah, this is ready to go. There's the bubble weld right there, just to sort of a Band-Aid patch.
They did the same thing over here too.
Yep. Look over here. Look at the missing bolts here.
Right.
See the missing bolts there. And these are all original hardware. So very rare do you get this up close to see what time does to a fire escape. Look at this one. Even though this one's solid, you see all the bulging that's now ripping my welds.
They got bolts missing.
So, and somebody comes in here and just rebolts this, is that a satisfactory repair? And never removes the rust?
No.
They must remove the rust. If they don't remove the rust, but they bolted it, it's not a satisfactory repair. You got to remove the original cause of the violation. So this is a life safety issue for who? Who's coming off this roof?
Firefighters.
Is this roof part of the symphony? So people are actually going to jump off some windows up there, onto this roof, over to here, and they're going to come here and do what? Get trapped. They're going to get trapped. If this thing is locked and gated, right? So obviously we got a life safety issue happening. Now we're going to be dealing with that fire escape over there in a second, guys, right?
Yes.
But if this is part of that building and we have a life safety issue here on an address, is it just this, or is the whole thing a life safety issue now?
The whole building.
So if you wish, I don't know who wants to raise the red flag, that this, which is a piece of the Symphony Hall, already has life safety issues. All these things that we just talked about here. Now we're going to go look at the big one right now and see what else we have over there. And let's, from down here, looking straight up at the Symphony. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. Has that thing been kept painted?
No.
And it's still an active building as we speak?
Yes.
So perfect. So let's just look from down here, because I don't need you guys climbing fire escapes anymore, right?
Oh no, I never.
Because we're not going to do live load testing anymore. Any evidence of any maintenance on this 50 to 75-year-old structure? You start. Can you see any rusty tears? Can you see any rusty tears on the treads?
Every piece of it.
Now, see this huge angle right here? Can you see huge amounts of rust in that angle right there?
Yes.
Is that normal?
No.
All right, let's continue walking. These rusty tears coming down the whole wall. Is that an indication that something's rusting?
Everything inside, yes.
That it's gotten into the building and it's rusting? So let's keep walking. You don't see any evidence of maintenance here. It's all original hardware still, right? I believe there's 2 sides to this building, correct?
Yes. It is. I sent them referral to the building department. They did absolutely nothing. I said, okay, I did my part.
Okay, let's take a look over here. And it looks like this is a new addition to an old structure. Any evidence of maintenance?
None.
Any evidence of rust?
Yes.
Any holes that a child could fall through?
Yep, right there.
Is that an imminent danger?
Yes.
Okay. So you've got something going on here. Let's look at what some new construction looks like. This is fairly new construction, but it's about 20 years old, right? Can you see any rust that's starting to get behind the welded angle here?
Yes.
Now, you have enough knowledge to qualify this, or you need a structural engineer to look at this? Who tells you how?
Structural engineer.
Very good. Look at all the bolts. New galvanized treads. These are what hex heads look like.
Oh, okay.
See, they're 6-sided. Okay, and these are fairly new. New gratings, new treads. So we don't have a problem here, but are we going to have a problem on this piece here? See all that rusty tears coming out from the welded piece? This is why. Do you trust welds, or what's the only way for me to nullify this weld? Load test it, or can I pop 2 new fresh bolts in there and then seal it from above? And do I need a load test after that?
No.
So once I seal the top, clean the rust, and re-bolt it back in instead of re-welding, do I need to load test this?
No.
Okay. So let's see what we have here for the rest of the fire escape. I don't think you can get it. Oh, you can, guys. They left the door open for you. Usually this is a closed door. Can they have this?
No.
During any at any time, actually, because sometimes they close this at any time with or
Shop this open because it's always locked.
This is a crash bar. This crash bar is broken. Is this functioning or broken?
That's broken.
Life safety issue?
Yes.
Okay, because if this locks, you'll ever get this open?
No.
So let's go look at the old fire escape. Now we don't have to go too far up this fire escape to see things. We've got treads, right? And this is fairly new.
This part here.
You see a broken weld here?
Yep. And bolt missing here.
And bolts missing. So let's go up the treads. This is what holds that whole stringer, guys, right? Is there rust in here?
Yes.
See that? Come and check if I can jam my
This whole thing is rusty.
Yeah? Well, you're looking for structural now. Paint job is one thing, structural is another, but an engineer would find these things for you. But now that you're getting a training lesson, is there rust in the clip that's holding up the whole stair?
Yes, because it drips down.
See it?
Yeah.
Is there rust here?
Yes. Yes.
Is that normal?
Water was able to get through there now.
And water's getting there every day?
Yep.
So let me ask you a question. Is that an imminent hand? Can I hurt myself, or a fireman,
Yep.
get trapped in here, or a child? An 8-year-old child would fit through there?
Yes.
And fall 15 feet?
And even up there where this is supposed to be that little shed to keep the water from,
Yeah.
that's all ate up.
Yeah. So look straight up then. If you're concerned about that.
What's up, Antonio?
Is that normal to have that much rust
Right back, I'm in a training class, okay?
during so all these need to be load tested. Okay, and we'll just go up a little bit more. Now, if there's a violation written on this, did anybody ever get a report from anybody?
Nope,
Can you
I never
see?
did.
Can you see daylight when you look down this connection?
Yes, you can.
Is that normal?
Nope.
See how the
I wrote
rust
this
filled
up
up?
a couple of years ago. Sent it to the building department. I haven't gotten anything.
Well, have you hit on some of the things on this building? Have hit imminent danger status?
Yeah, the hole back there.
How about all that rust?
No, this is disgusting.
Okay. Can temporary repairs be done on this fire escape to make it at least functional until such time that permanent repairs take effect? And not it doesn't remove the violation, but it can.
Yeah.
Can you have an engineer
Yeah, they could
walk through and do some
things.
temporary shoring while they're figuring out what the next plan is?
Yes.
So there's always a plan, but that plan always has to come through you guys, and you guys never speak with an engineer after you write a violation, do you?
No.
Look at all these bulges. Could the snow and ice pop through here?
Yep.
And hurt somebody? All right. So here we are. I mean, we'll go to the other side, but this is Fire Escape Academy inspector training videos. And all original hardware. Do you see any evidence of any changes? This is a 75-year-old structure. Any evidence anywhere of a new bolt? So the only thing that's been holding this whole thing together in its lifetime has been a paint job. It's never seen a refurbishment. And is that normal for a 75-year-old structure never to have refurbishment done to it?
No.
So this is all you have to look at. Fire Escape Academy, inspector training video. And this is fairly new. This is great. Look how great when it is new, what it means. Oh, by the way, somebody on this one, this is a perfect example, too lazy to bolt it, they welded it. Can I load test this as is with that weld, or do I now have to put in bolts?
You gotta put in bolts.
Otherwise you have to load test. But as soon as I pop the bolts that the guy should have done in the first place, but sometimes the stringers, the holes are out of alignment, and when the holes are out of alignment, you know what they do? They put them in, weld it more or less where it should be. But now, can I load test it as is? No, because it's welded, but as soon as I bolt it, I don't need to load test them.
Okay.
So welds, because see, they didn't seal it, so these are getting eaten from the inside, and I can't guarantee them. The only way to guarantee them is with a bolt. This one has bolts, this one doesn't.
Right.
So as soon as I bolt those, these two are now going to be equal because they both have bolts. All right, new grading. You see where the rust is getting in at the inside there?
Fire escapes like this, is it a certain length it has to be, you know?
Nope, this is standard grading, 1 inch apart.
1 inch, okay.
Yeah, and the thickness of the grading is either 1 inch by 3/16, so it's going to be 1.5 inches by 3/16 or
And
quarter.
that's on the stairs and everything?
Yep, everything. Everything's 100 pounds per square foot. So this needs to be addressed. This is a life safety issue?
Yeah.
Because they probably do this, and this is common when they have a repair that they should have done. What they do is when there's something going on here at the show, they do this. They leave it open. Then somebody here at the end of the day comes and locks it up.
Yeah.
But then this also locks your firemen into the place. They can't get out.
Exactly.
So this is a life safety issue here.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions? Fire Escape.
That's always locked.
Any questions? Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training videos. Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training video. We're here in Newark, New Jersey, and we have some fire inspectors with us. Today it's the Lady Brigade. They're running the whole show, and that's the way it always is. So now, first thing, must be structurally sound, must be kept painted, right? So let's do the easy one. Is this guy trying to hide it with a paint job?
Yes.
So, that happens all the time. So they will throw paint because for 75 years, you guys were writing the wrong violation because you were writing scrape and paint. Never again. This new violation that you're going to write today, or it's already been written, or you need to clean it up, you're going to call it repair, paint it, then test it, okay? And that'll cover all the things associated with this until you're satisfied. Otherwise, the load test is part of the code, and you have all the right to order it, correct?
Yes.
Until you're satisfied. Now, on this one, you look at the ladders and you look at this cable, and is there any pulley system at the very top?
No.
So right away, you have a possibility that people are going to get trapped. You saw that Bridgeport fire, right? 50 people. Why couldn't they get down? Because the ladder system didn't work, didn't come down. So you get to fire here. The first thing your firefighters have to do is fight the fire or get these people off the fire escape.
Get the people off.
So is this a life safety issue?
Yes.
So when things hit an imminent danger situation, is there a little bit more power that you have with the owner of this building?
Yes.
Imminent danger. Vacate the building, fire watch, right? So you now, as Chief Stewart says, you now have a situation where as soon as it hits imminent danger, you just can't walk away with this like it's a regular violation. You have an imminent danger, and your imminent danger is that ladder is not functioning to get these people out of the fire escape. Not only that, is this blocked? Is there an obstruction?
Yep.
So we have obstructions.
And also, you see where it's supposed to go all the way across the little beams at the top?
Yeah.
Almost the majority of those are missing.
Right. So you got, let's go back here.
Oh, yeah.
So that you don't become an expert on all these things, right? You're looking for evidence of maintenance. And old fire escapes have square bolts, older fire escapes have rivets, and newer fire escapes have
hex head bolts, you know, 6-sided or 8-sided bolts. Do you see any shiny bolts on that fire escape? No. So 75 years, it's been getting a few paint jobs, but has it ever had a maintenance issue? No. So no evidence of maintenance. That means that fire escape is original the day it went up. So do you think it's structurally sound today? No. No. The only way to guarantee it is a load test or a full refurbishment, correct? Right. How about the tiebacks into the building? And I brought these out for you to show that these are typical tiebacks, right? That go inside the building with a plate on the inside. One doesn't look like it has any wear on it, but what's the other one have?
A lot of wear.
The wear is from a leaky roof. So that wear is what can happen that you never can see unless you have an x-ray, unless you have some investigation. But you can duplicate these connections and avoid that connection, right? So now that's just one building you've already done. You don't have to get on it. You don't have to do anything. We got some obstruction. Let's go to the building right next to it. Now here's a building right next to it that's legs to the ground. And it too, you're looking for paint job and evidence of maintenance. Let's start with the paint job. Is the paint job half decent? It needs a paint job, right? But it's not as rusty as this one over here was. Oh, that one that way down there is. And that one has no paint on it. So, but let's take a look at this one over here. Any evidence of maintenance? Look at all the corners, look at all the treads. Do you see any shiny bolts that somebody would have fixed something? So here's a 75-year-old fire escape next to this one, and it too. So can you write a violation on this one now? Yes. So what's this address?
That's good.
It's the Bill Downs. Actually, that's the
general
building.
Yeah, so, it's part of this building, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's across the street. We're on the corner of Springfield Ave. And 11th. Springfield and 11th. So now let's walk across the street to this one, and then we're going to walk to the front of this building. So now these are another apartment, another.
Yeah, this one they just renovated.
So let's look up. Does it look like the release arm? I mean, see the pinwheel up there? What it looks like? Mm-hmm. So this is supposed to be single action, requiring no special knowledge. And let's see, it's 75 years old. Any evidence of maintenance? You say this building just renovated. Look, beautiful windows, new people paying new rent. But now look at the connection, look at the fire escape. Any evidence of maintenance other than a paint job? No. The connections and the supports, the rivets that are on them, any of them look like they've been replaced? No. Any tiebacks into the building that you can see that somebody either verified the connection in the wall by removing some bricks or they duplicated the connection? No. So right now, you could have a certificate sitting on this at your office from 2 years ago when this was done. Now, can you order a load test today?
Yes.
Right? Because are you satisfied that it's structurally sound?
No.
Right? You never heard from the engineer and you never heard from the vendor, and there was probably no permit done. So this is nothing but a paint job. So they may not have to do. Now look at all the treads and see if you see any rust in the tread connections. And see if you see any treads that are ready to fall, where the treads meet the flat. And if you look straight ahead that way, you see some treads right in the middle.
Right there, they got
right,
the rust.
See all the rust on that one right in the middle there? So those are firemen that are going to be tripping and falling or tenants. Now, when you get here and you have your tag, and this is a question, where am I going to put my tag? Can I put my tag on this fence for now?
I wouldn't think so.
Because they'll take it down.
Okay, well they can, but as soon as you put the tag, don't worry about them taking away the tag. They will take away the tags. They'll do, you just put your tag up. That gets the ball started. Can I put a tag? Can I tape a tag to this window down here? Yeah. You need to find some place to put the tag. You just need the tag to if you can nail it to the wood. If you get tape that's Gorilla Tape, you know, the duct tape.
Yeah, duct tape.
Can you duct tape it to this thing? It'll stay up for 3 to 6 months.
Oh, okay.
You're going to get a call. Your violation that you write is going to get the call back anyway. This is nothing but a notice to the tenants and a notice for your firefighters that are going to show up. But you're going to periodically check this thing to make sure, because once everybody calls you and you're going to put the tag up here. Where do you want a yellow and a red? Right there on the ladder. You know, I would just tag the ladder.
You can tag with a yellow tag, right?
Yes. On this one. Do you see any dangling treads? You see any dangling treads?
Dangling?
You know, anything that looks like life safety? No. Nope. So this is a yellow. That one over there with the pinwheel missing. Is that a yellow or a red?
That's a red.
The one across the street, yellow or red? That's yellow. That's a yellow. The brown one, that totally brown one way down there.
That's red.
That's red? Why? Because it's so far gone.
It's rusted and it's just gone.
Let's go now to the front of the building. And where would you put the tag on this one?
Well, we can't get back there, so we can put it right here on the gate.
Right here on the gate?
Or anything. Yeah,
and do you guys photograph? Do you guys use any camera phones or anything?
We don't have cameras.
But
If we do, we use our own.
right, so can you photograph, once you put up the tag, can you photograph the tag?
Yes.
And that way you use it as evidence that, you know, it was put up. They are going to take it down because they don't want their tenants knowing that the thing is bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we could put it on either the front or the back of the building.
Right. And then you're going to be speaking with them anyway. So let's take a look at this one. Now, when you do an address, you do one fire escape or you do all of them? If I make this one bad, is it just this one that's bad or does all of them automatically come under 489?
All of them come under 489.
So let's take a look at this one. Does it look like somebody's trying to sneak a paint job through you?
Yep, you still see rust.
Right? So let's take a look. Any evidence of maintenance on the treads?
No.
And look straight up here at the tread now, the fourth tread up. Look how bad that connection is.
Oh, yeah.
But has it fallen yet?
Nope.
So it's really not a red. It's a close call on your end whether or not you want to call this a red. But this is a yellow, right?
Yeah.
But you can already see evidence that somebody's going to trip on that tread.
Yep.
And he's trying to cover it with a paint job. Any of the supports into the building look like they got holes. See the supports all down here? See the openings into the cement? Is water getting in there?
Yes.
Does it look like this cantilever, this ladder is balanced and it comes down? Or does it look like it's out of balance, typically? Look at the old cable. How old is that cable? Is that cable original? Would you allow the original cable to stay on this?
No.
You want a new cable? And that's cheap, right? Cheap to replace that. How about that pinwheel up there? That pinwheel is 75 years old and made of cast.
They replaced that too.
Is there smaller pinwheels nowadays that you can do that?
I'm sure it is.
So with that, let's go down to that fire. That fire down there is a great class. Now, once you've done one, what about this one? The only thing, this is another yellow, and this is somebody else's building, obviously.
No, it's the same 45.
No, that's 489.
49.
So we got a nice building here, nice owner, looks like well maintained. Let's see if whether or not he's satisfied and changed any bolts. You see any change of hardware anywhere?
No, all he did was painted it brown.
See the holes into the wall? Look up there, beautiful brick on his front. But see all the holes are there?
Space.
Okay, and the ladder doesn't have a release of any kind. All original hardware. So this 485 now has a violation, correct?
Yeah, 485.
And all because it's got water getting into it. So now let's look down here. There's a fire that happened here. And this is a great one. Because we have several issues here, and these things happen all the time. Yep, but let's take a look at just the fire one first, and then we'll concentrate on this red one. Is that a legal fire escape that somebody put up to satisfy the second means of egress? So will that hold 100 pounds per square foot? Is the staircase in any way a legal staircase? So what's the violation here? A repair, paint and test, or is this a replace?
Replace the whole thing.
Meet the code.
Yes.
Replace and meet the pull a permit and do the 100 pounds per square foot, right? So now let's take a look. Let's take a look at this red one, and then we'll go to that fire to see what we have to do in case of fires. Ready? Is this a bolted or an all welded fire escape?
That looks all welded.
Very good. Let's look over here and look at all the treads. I can guarantee those welds with you guys by load testing it. What's my other option? X-ray, right? Remember the X-ray to check a weld?
Yeah.
But if I want to, can I re-bolt all those treads?
Yes.
Just re-bolt it. Will that eliminate the load test?
Yeah.
Yes.
All of them?
Yeah. How about that wood the guy put up there? Is that wood legal on a fire escape?
No, it's not even.
So he's got a rotten piece of steel and he put wood over it. That's not legal. How about all these welded connections on the rail? Can I can load test them to verify them, or can I just bolt them to eliminate the need to verify the welds? So I can re-bolt the whole railing, the whole treads, and what about the supports and the legs coming down? Everywhere, wherever there's a joint, can I just pop a bolt through it and make this an all bolted fire escape?
Yes.
Do I need a load test after I re-bolt? So right now, this fire escape is fixable, with getting all the rust out and doing whatever. And as soon as you re-bolt 100% of this, now does this fire escape looks like a separate building? Does this have a fire escape? Is this the yellow or a red?
Right now it'll be. I'll say red.
Well, what's dangling? Where's the life safety? I don't see any life safety here. Unless you say there's a hole there that somebody's going to fall, but I don't.
Where they got the wood at?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's your call, but you got to see somebody imminent danger. But otherwise, this one looks more yellow than red. But because when you go there, it's just a small hole that nobody's going to fall through. Okay. But now let's take a look at that one. Is that a yellow or a red?
That's a red.
That's a red. And then let's talk about this one, which is the last one. You just had a fire on this building. Is this building getting gutted and getting taken down? We have a huge... You have a huge bulge on the wall. Would you agree or not?
Oh, be careful. Yes,
Sorry.
agree.
There's a huge bulge on the wall.
Yep.
So is this wall been compromised?
Yes.
Can they just fix this fire escape and leave this building as is?
No.
So, but let's pretend that the wall was not a factor. Let's take a look at after a fire. What do you want to do after a fire? Is there any life safety issues on this building?
Steps are missing. Yeah.
So do you think that happened during the fire? Do you think some fireman or somebody came down in those
Somebody
treads?
stepped on it and fell.
So here's a perfect example that you may want to investigate and say, hey, what happened? Yeah, there's all the pieces, the missing treads. So it looks like there was a fire here, and either tenants or firemen got hurt because all these treads gave way during an emergency evacuation. Any evidence of maintenance anywhere?
None.
The ladders, is the ladder functioning or not?
Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it's out of the pinwheel. Look up there.
That's what I was looking at. It's not even on it.
So now the ladder's out of pinwheel. Are these one of those people that got stuck on a fire escape? The firemen got here and they had to spend their first minutes of the fire doing what? Getting people doing rescue. Not firefighting, but rescue. So this is a perfect example that not only is the integrity of the wall a question now, but if this fire escape is going to go back. So this has got a life safety issue, and it happened during an emergency. You can see all the missing treads. And look, and if you look further down, can you see other treads ready to give way? Yes. If you come down here and just look straight ahead at these treads, look at all the 1, 2, 3 of the bottom. They're ready to go. So this is a perfect example of when the firemen and the occupants are all in danger of dying, even though they got themselves out of the fire.
And they had a chain over here.
And they had a chain too, right? So the ladder couldn't even come down. So there's another thing. They had a chain on the ladder anyway. So
you write it up and refer to the building department.
So there's a lot of issues. Fire Escape Academy, inspector training. We're down here in Newark. Inspector training videos. Here we are in Newark, downtown walkarounds. So with rivets, older than square heads or younger than square heads? Older. So this is a 75 plus minus building. Any evidence of maintenance?
None.
It takes 25 years on average to lose all your paint job. This was lost its entire paint job. How many years has it not been painted?
About 75 years.
Okay, now look at all the connections. Look at all the rivets. Look at all the joints. The ladder, is the ladder tied off with a wire? See the wire tie off on the ladder?
Oh, right here.
Right here. See so is that a lot?
I don't see the wheel.
Well, the wheel is way up there.
No,
straight up.
I can't see it.
Yeah, no, it's inside those two angles up there.
Oh, okay.
But doesn't matter with all these wire ties on it. Look from here. Look at all the wire ties on the ladder. I know they're trying to stop people from pulling it down and breaking in, but who are they really stopping from getting to the ground?
Me.
The firemen. If they get trapped up there, they have to come down. They're going to put all their pressure on that, trying to break that stupid wire, and it's not going to happen. What about this? The rivets? Are these rivets showing any bulging, any scaling, any? I mean, we got quite a bit. There's no evidence of any maintenance anywhere.
Right.
So now, this is typical of a building that only the first floor is active, nothing else is active. So how do you get your men not to get on this thing so that they surround and drown the rest of the fire escape? Otherwise, on buildings like this, with a man, you think he's making a good rent on this first floor? Right?
Oh no, he own that all the way around.
Right. So if he owns the building, he wants you to save his asset, meaning if the top floor is burned, you think the ground floor is done?
Yeah.
So this really now needs to stay on this building for the firemen only. There's no tenants, there's no lawyers living up there anymore.
Right.
So the fact that the ground floor is occupied, but he's not doing anything about the upper floors, isn't it putting a life safety issue here to the firemen who get onto this fire escape? Because nobody knows the status of the existing fire escape. So either you have to sign this fire escape over and put signs on that saying do not get on the upper floors ever. So doesn't this become a surround and drown?
Yes. Yeah.
If this becomes a surround and drown, does the insurance company allow that to happen on somebody's insurance, to have signage that say surround and drown?
Nope.
So this guy needs to make a choice. He doesn't have to really do anything inside the building, but he needs to make it so that the firemen can get out of this building. So this is one of those that on a case-by-case basis, you guys need to write a violation that says, is there an imminent hazard issue here with the firefighters? Not for the tenants, there's no occupants here. But is there an imminent hazard danger? Now, let's say the guy agrees with you and they set up a plan. Would you allow 100% refurbishment of the fire escape but no paint job, just to make it safe for firemen to get out? If you repair it minimally, would you allow that?
Yeah.
It may not remove the full violation, but will it at least appease the fact that this guy's waiting for the resurgence or a change in the economy or whatever? Otherwise, it must be structure sound, must be kept painted and maintained at all times. That's the code. Whether he likes it or not, he doesn't have the choice not, to maintain the ground floor, but not maintain the upper floors. He doesn't have that kind of right, does he? So this is on a case-by-case basis. You need to discuss this with Chief Stewart and ask him, what do you want to do about the fact that the guy has tied off the ladders and that this fire escape doesn't look like it's been structurally reviewed in 25 plus years?
And we just got a field notice out about this also. The firefighters came out.
And what was their concern?
The safety of it, about them going up.
Yeah, so there you go. So now they're concerned. So you got to write a repair paint note, on the remaining. Can you see any treads ready to go? So minimally, this is a yellow, right?
Uh-huh.
And that's all you got. And you are correct. They're basically repeating what we just talked about now.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying, yeah, the ground floor is probably sprinklered and probably alarmed and probably meets all the codes. But the rest of it, like they say, we can't use it to get in and we can't use it to get out.
Right.
Forget the occupants. There is no occupants.
There's a lot of garbage up there.
So this is a perfect one. It already speaks for itself. So it needs to be a violation on this particular one at the Coco Boutique. Fire Escape Academy, Inspector Training. Here we are in Newark, New Jersey. Inspector Training video. Here we are in Newark, New Jersey, and we're doing a little bit of training. This is a nice red one that shows a lot of the rust, but every connection. Another problem that you have with these type of buildings is when they put the vinyl up, guess what I can't check? The connection to the wall. The vinyl blocks. So I have to duplicate the connection because I can't even verify it without tearing vinyl off. So, but any evidence of maintenance. How about the treads? Any treads ready to give way?
Yes.
So treads in the back fell.
Right up here.
We got a lot of debris, but that was from the fire, and now it is chained. So typically they'll chain them up after a fire so nobody breaks in. But any evidence... Yeah, but that's after a fire. They usually do that so nobody breaks in to go get stuff out of their apartment because it's a danger. Oh, of course, yeah. If you find any that's because people don't want anybody breaking into the apartments, and it's an imminent hazard. But you got treads ready to go. You got a lot of debris. The pinwheel, the ladder's all bent. All original hardware on this one.
It's not even connected to the pinwheel.
Yeah, not even connected. It's bent, smashed. So these are typical. But again, the main thing we're looking for is original hardware and any evidence of maintenance. And this one doesn't have any either. So Fire Escape Academy, Inspector Training down here in Newark.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces. All in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him.
Oh, I was scared to death.
But the fire escape that broke underneath him.
Where the railing just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes. Rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So then over here? For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results. Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings. Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Correct.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal. Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one a broken tread. So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files,
but there's no fire escape certification.
Not in this file.
To see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Right.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the director of inspectional services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes.
Did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
Not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess that the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.
Right now, firefighters are taking down the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier in the night, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, they said that's scary, scary stuff. They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in the fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
About 50 people were displaced inside this building. However, firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in, except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.